So, hello, everybody. Welcome to our latest edition of the Young Author Talk series. Today, I am here with Ethan Morander and Jonathan Garcia-Rodrigues. They've written a really cool and scary, for me, book called I'm reading it backwards. Blue Lands, Black Hearts. I have to sort of go away from the camera so you can see it when I'm in my blurry mode. But we're going to get to know the authors. We're going to get to hear something about their book and where they got their idea. I'm really excited to be talking with both of you today. So, first, since a lot of people probably don't know much about you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you both met? Because I get the sense that you guys have been friends for a long time.
Well, I'll start talking first.
Yeah, you want to go first?
Yes. So, I'm Jonathan. I like to do write stories, draw, play video games, all the stuff to distract me from doing normal adulting, I guess, because more fun. I met Ethan in
Fifth grade.
fifth grade.
I've known you half my life, dude.
Listen, I'm bad with numbers. And yeah, I'm just like I wrote this. We wrote by books. Bad at this.
It's okay. Just gotta take a breath.
Well, and where did you guys met you
Yeah,
went to
so
school in Bloomfield, right?
yeah. We
Yes.
we met in Carmen Aires.
Yes.
Actually,
Well,
we had,
I first
yeah.
walked up to you at a birthday party and said, "Hi,
No,
my
that
name's
was
John."
second grade.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
second grade when we first met.
We actually first met through a friend of ours. His name was Noah. He had a birthday party. Jonathan scared me because he was very outgoing.
Yeah, I
And
literally
about
walked up to him and said, "Hi, my name's John," and held up my hand to get a handshake, and he just like, "Hi."
yeah, it was good. So we had the same class in fifth grade, and I tried avoiding him till about November because he just scared me, and I knew his face. Um, and like one day in probably November, December, something around that.
I was talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, I
And then
needed a
you
place to
overhauled
sit,
me.
and he was talking about some stuff that I was interested in, and that's kind of what started it. So we just ended up making stories for like years and years and years. Like that's yeah.
I think that's fantastic. And I think if I'm remembering correctly, Jonathan, in your little bio at the end of the book, it mentioned that you are a dungeon master and have
Yeah,
been
I
for many
like
years. Is that
D&D.
correct?
Yeah, I like
Right?
D&D. I like storytelling games. I like messing with him in the stories mainly.
Yeah.
The amount of times his character has gave me an aneurysm though in retaliation.
Yeah, it's good. We trade blows with that, but no, it's cool. Like when we were younger, we used to tell like choose your own adventure stories. So like field trips, bus rides at the lunch table. Like it
I
was
love
he would
those,
just
by the way.
oh
I
yeah.
love choose
Yeah.
your own adventure.
He'd just come up with stuff and I'd have to pick it. And a lot of times it was like you're gonna follow the narrative or you like walk off into the woods and die. But it was very like he had a set path to begin with, and then we just followed it, ran with it.
Yeah.
So
I think that's cool. So this
yeah, it was
this now
cool.
leads me to your book. So this is I sort of classify it as sort of thriller slash horror, but I notice on the inside cover you also refer to it as historical fiction, which made me go,
Yeah.
OMG, was this based on a real thing? And I never want to go to this place on this planet. So tell us
So
a little bit about the story and
yeah.
where the idea came from and how much of this is based on reality because
All
it's
right.
scary. It's scary.
So
So this is
we
fun.
nailed it.
Yes.
This book came out of a story Jonathan told when we were in like seventh grade, hence the dedication on the inside of the thing
To the
there.
lunch table.
Yeah, it was where we sat. It's where he came up with it. And I remember like leaving the lunchroom because the scene in chapter 9 in the shed there, that was what we had remembered. Like
That's
that
where
was,
we ended off with the
yeah,
thing.
that was like the end of it. And I looked at him and I was like, dude, we have to write this down. It's gold. So what we ended up doing was we had it. Oh, my voice kind of worked there. Yes. So what we kind of did was we wrote down a bunch of notes on it, and he like memorized a lot of the story. Like it's just stuck in somewhere in a vault in his brain, and it worked out really well. So we wrote down a bunch of notes, and then took a break from doing that for like 2 or 3 years. And then we found a catalyst for everything in 2018 because we went back to it and we're like, man, we should try this again. And so we did a bunch of research on like scary places to visit and like different things. And we came across like an event in 1886 on March 31st. So like those dates line up with dates in the book. Like we framed it so it's accurate to historical events, but it's not actually have happened. So like the setting is the Black Forest in Germany, and it's supposedly really haunted and really creepy, but it's more just the space where all the Brothers Grimm tales come from. So but we based it in that because it was supposed to be a really haunted forest. So you have like monsters and terrifying scenes and stuff like that. So a lot of the like dates, times, years, and setting stuff is historical, and you can actually go to places in that area for the most part and look stuff up on those dates and times and see exactly where it lines up with the book. But yeah,
Well, you captured it. You did capture it because it was creepy. And why don't you, just so that people well, first of all, because you guys mentioned your dedication. So I'm gonna,
yeah,
because just for our local people who might be watching from Carmenares, is this where the table was?
I don't know
So
if it's the same table now, but that's where it
Yeah,
was.
this
Yeah.
is
that
what
what
the
it used to
dedication
be.
was. This book is dedicated to the fifth lunch table from the left doors in the first row of tables at the middle school we attended. So
Yeah,
for those of you at Carmenares, you're
For
sitting in
greatness
some
is
magical seats right now.
that's what greatness was.
oh yeah.
But so for those who haven't read the book yet, why don't you give us like a general description about the plot
Okay.
without anything too scary,
You want to read the back.
anything too graphic or scary thrown in? Just what is
I
this
got it.
about?
I can sum up the plot.
All right, go for
Okay,
it.
so basically the plot is the survival of the main events himself, Michael, retelling the story to a news reporter, and we living the whole of what happened that day. And like just like explaining to the news reporter what happened. I can't go too in depth due to that kind of spoils a lot of the book. But
But we
you
can say
will,
something bad happened to Michael.
something,
Bad happened,
yeah,
and he's then institutionalized,
yeah.
and a
Most
reporter
of the
visits him.
book though is going to take place either in the past at that event or in the mental institution where Michael is telling the story. So
And we can do a trigger warning because for somebody who doesn't like graphic violence kind of stuff,
yeah,
there
Oh
are a
god.
lot of
it's very
scenes.
violent.
Yeah,
There's a lot of those scenes in the book.
Jonathan
So
is very, very good at
Describing.
in-depth descriptions.
In one of the
And
books we're running right now,
yeah,
I went in depth on a person being set on fire.
yeah. So like
oh,
he finds these moments to like make it come alive.
I
And
had
that's
to
what made
re-
him such a great storyteller
I
with
had to
that. Like,
research if a tongue could catch fire or not.
yeah.
and that's in the new book.
That's in the
That's in the
seventh
fantasy book we're
seventh
writing.
book.
Yeah, seventh
Yeah.
book, give or take.
Their tongues can catch fire. Ooh, I don't. Do I want to know? Can they?
No.
Well, you did research. They can't.
Yeah.
Oh, good lord.
Once the book comes out, they will be able to read it.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta finish it first.
So when you guys were writing this, book, how much of this was, I always like to ask this kind of question of authors because there's, even if it's something like a horror historical fiction kind of thing, set in the Black Forest, right? Authors tend to usually put something of themselves in the book or something from their own experience, there are a couple of adult figures in the book who have sort of a military background, or there's some nuns, and was this totally 100% like out of your imagination, or did you like
Let me start.
know some people that maybe were...
So all right.
Oh,
So yeah, I'll preface this with a few things. So this was adapted from the story he told at the lunch table in seventh grade. As we were writing it, oh, that was bad. That was real bad. Hold on, let me try that again.
Well,
as we were,
Ethan is joining us. He's a little under the weather, so
yeah,
he's got a sore
sorry.
voice.
His
Um,
voice is not the best.
yeah, I sound like a dying seagull. I know. So as we were writing it, oh, that wasn't bad. As we were writing it, it kind of evolved from that, and so we put more of ourselves in the characters. And this is where I'm going to give Jonathan this one because he's got a lot to say on this topic that I disagree with entirely.
So basically, most things in this book I came up with, aka the whole elements of the book. The camp and like the location of the Black Fallout, we both fully agreed on. Kyoto's almost Ethan's department for making most Kyotos. The main Kyoto is heavily, in my opinion, heavily based on my friend here, who was not having the best of time when we were writing this book. But once the second book comes out,
yeah, chapter 5 was interesting.
People will see exactly what we mean by he wasn't having the best of time.
It was really cool though, because like as much as he would say that I projected, I still don't believe that I did. But we would sit there and like edit through it ourselves, and he'd stop the voice reader and look at me and just go, "Hey, buddy, how we feeling?" Like,
no. The best part is a lot of our friends who read this book called Ethan up a few after reading the book and said,
within
"Buddy,
hours,
are you okay?"
Within hours, I got like 3 or 4 phone calls. You good? Why? I just wrote a book. Like, chill.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So yeah, I think the main character, there's an argument that can be made that it's loosely based on
you.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. But as far as the military background characters or the nuns and stuff, I think we kind of just pulled some stuff from like what we were reading or what we were working on or like the time period.
I also remember my dad telling me about stuff. My grandfather telling me about stuff.
Yeah.
The nuns, I kind of knew a little bit about because I did go to like an all Christian school at one point for like I think my first like few years of like schooling. Although I do not like that school, and it closed down because how bad of an education it was. So
I have to say, you guys, you hit like everything in this book. Like when you think about like what should be in like creepy, scary book, you know, creepy forest, institution, nun, like really tough nuns, or orphans, so people have been sort of displaced and don't have like people that are like they don't have a network of like support. Like you guys hit it all, and like the spooky legend that comes into it too, like in the story.
Oh, yeah, that was
you guys
fun.
hit it all. Check.
Yeah, that was
honestly.
that was actually kind of cool. So when we came up with like the spooky legend thing, like around the campfire, that kind of scene, that was really interesting because we did a lot of research for that too, and it was like, what mythical monster can we throw in there to scare everybody that knows anything about it?
And we also used my own ideas of like reach into the mind and just see what horrifying things I could think of. Just like pull out of the little vaults of like either like things I don't like to talk about, things that scare me, little bit of annoyance mix into that, throw it on a pot, mix it up, grab some of your little trauma, sprinkle that in, stow the pot. Here's your monster.
Now, I don't read a lot of horror, so was your monster in this book sort of inspired by other
no,
like
he
legend?
came up with that entirely.
No, here's the funny thing. I am a wimp. I cannot read horror. I cannot watch horror.
Yeah.
I can come up with it.
Yeah. No,
I can't do anything else with it. I can come up with it. I can't engage with it.
It's funny. So like I only learned after I wrote this book that I could handle like brief doses of horror. So like my best example of this is like the show Wednesday, right? That's not that scary, but 2 years ago I wouldn't have been able to watch that. Like, and my sister was the same way. She'd watch like 1 or 2 episodes. It'd scare the crap out of her. That would scare her a ton. And then like I watched it after writing that book, and I was like, oh, this isn't as bad as what I just put on the page. All right, cool. But neither one of us is good with like any of the movies that are come out around Halloween or like the
Oh
Jigsaw.
my
Oh,
Or
that's
God,
so
that
funny.
one,
It's so
like,
funny
yeah,
because so
that
it's
one,
almost like you're like living vicariously. So you kind of
yeah,
like put
that's
all
hilarious.
all
yeah.
this stuff in a book and
Oh
then
yeah,
it's like, it's there.
yeah,
Well, no, I compartmentalize a lot of stuff. Like he told me something horrible that happened once. I didn't fully understand it until I wrote a Kyoto that happened to, and I was like, oh God, I understand now.
yeah. I think it's especially with like us writing, it's a lot of understanding through creating, and that's kind of where we end up getting with it.
Yep. Now you guys touched on this, but one of my questions was going to be like how you guys, because this also interests me with authors, like when somebody co-writes a book, like
Yeah.
who's doing what. And I know you kind of talked a little bit about, Ethan did a lot with the characters, and Jonathan, your brain just like exploded with all
Oh yeah.
the
You give him an
crazy.
inch, he'll take a mile. It's crazy.
Okay, so this question's a little fun because
Yeah.
I did sewed in bits of like writing and like doing like the main setup and everything.
Yeah.
Although I have dyslexia, so it all comes out in a language me and my friend call dyslexian
Yeah.
because we coined that tone because he figured out how to read my gibberish.
And
So
speak it now too.
yeah,
It's
literally, I
awesome.
write anything down and he's able to figure out what I mean. It's impressive. When everyone else had no clue what I wrote. So basically, I write down certain scenes, like help like set all the points up, and then he like writes a quick version of how to net it and like clean up the thing. Then I go back in, expand it, and then we just keep on doing it until we feel fine with it.
Yeah. So
Oh, that's
like
really interesting. It's almost like you're
yeah.
translating, you
Yeah, kind
know?
of.
Basically,
That's pretty much what it came
he's my
down to.
translator.
So with this book, we did a lot of like I would write while I was at school. Like and it's not a great lesson for kids, but I got bored in college and that's kind of what started it. So I would write like say 2 pages in school and then I'd hang out with Jonathan on Friday and we'd go through it. And then we'd walk circles around his kitchen table and come up with ideas and write them down. And then he would
Surprisingly, walking
Yeah.
circles help a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. It just it makes the flow better. I don't know what it is. But like so he would take some and he'd write on his own time, and then I would take the notes after that, write on my own time, and then we'd congregate once a week and figure out
Where things go.
yeah, how things work, where they'd go, and it worked out really well. So
So in terms of editing, did you guys do
yeah.
all your own editing or did you
So
seek outside people?
so we did a couple things with that actually. We preliminarily, yep, that's not a word you can do.
I don't know.
Preliminarily edited all of our work. Like he and I would sit down and we'd read through, like we had it highlighted. And then when we got through it, we unhighlighted it and then went from there. After that, we sent it to 10, 12 people.
10, 12 people,
Something
10 of
like
our
that.
friends.
Yeah, we sent it to like 10 or 12 friends, and I think 6 or 7 actually read it and got back to us.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was like the peer review process, and then we sent that once it was reviewed by people we knew. We sent it to Miss Baker at the high school because she had done all like the AP English stuff, and she had a very good command over how all that stuff works. So I was like, I know you. You're cool enough to read this and not yell at me about it. Here you go.
And this was
And
Bloomfield High School
yeah,
that
yeah.
Mr. Picker. Okay. So that's
So
fantastic.
yeah, she edited our first book, and once we got all that back, we made the changes we had to, sent it back to her just to double check. And they say it's supposed to be edited by 3 to 5 people. So you had like the 6 peer reviews and then twice by somebody who has like an English degree. So once I got it back after that, we just published it. Like
Well, that's fantastic.
yeah.
And I also want to ask you guys about I'm gonna see. I just have to. Sorry, I have to lean back, or else the fuzz gets the book cover. The artwork, the original artwork. So not only is there the cover, which I think is really cool looking. I have to say, cover appeal is huge. But there are also at the start of all the chapters, like little. You couldn't tell so much. I don't know. I think that was a sort of a graphic image,
That
but
was,
I think it was.
believe it or not, that was actually his favorite scene of the book.
It was.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I triggered
like-
anybody by showing that image. I think it was far enough away, right? So what did you guys do for the artwork?
So
I-
we, oh,
No, you got
we
it.
basically the images on the inside, we basically divvied up which one we want to draw and just slowly over time like drew all of
You
them.
guys did those images?
Oh yeah, we did those.
Although the cover was done by his
Yeah.
cousin.
So my cousin Kiona has the front cover credit inside the copyright page, but all of the inner artwork is him and I.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense because I mean it's you guys know it was in your brains, right? For some of these
Exactly.
images. Yes, but it helped me picture some of what was going on. I kind of went,
You
oh
could-
yeah, that's kind of what I thought was happening.
Yeah, you can also clearly tell certain images were done with more gusto or less gusto than others.
Yeah, especially like so that's the first book in a 3-book series. As we got on to like the second and the third book, you'll notice it like in the pictures. There's some that are like ridiculously well rounded, and then there's others that are like, oh, that's just a stick. Oh, okay.
Well, give yourself some credit though. I mean, you guys did a really good job with those. Honestly, if I was asked to sketch some of that stuff, I would not even come close. It would look like a like a Diary of a Wimpy Kid doodle if I were doing it, which really wouldn't go with it.
Thank
But
you.
so what? Well, let me jump on what you just said about this being a 3-book series, which
Yeah.
that's fantastic because I kind of ended, you end kind of wanting to know more about the story. I don't want to give too much away, but when you're, now that you know that it's a trilogy, did you like know from day one, like
No.
this is sort of what's
No.
going to be in each book? Or?
Ethan walked up to me one day and said, "Dude, we gotta write another one." I said, "Okay," and he said, "Cool."
Yeah.
We wrote the second one, and he's like, "Dude, let's do a prequel."
Yeah, no.
And I
So-
said, "Okay."
Oh yeah, no. So this is actually really funny. So the storyboard for this book was that it was going to be a one-off. Like it was a one and done. We're going to kill the character, call it a day. Like the
And
list
then
of
Ethan
notes.
got attached
Yeah, and
to
then-
Michael,
yeah.
and he was like, "I don't
Just-
want."
Well, it was based on you, right, Ethan? So I can see why
No,
you might
not
be
at all.
attached to a character.
Not at all. But
Yes,
no, so,
yes.
so we finished the first book, and we had originally just kind of left it open just in case. Like as we got through to like chapter 9 or chapter 10, there was one of those like, do we need to write another one? Is there more story, or is this good the way it is? And we left it the way that we did because if we wanted to go back and write another one, we could do that. But he had a lot of other stories. Like our book queue right now is probably 50, I think. Last
50
I checked,
long,
I counted.
not
Yeah,
counting
there's
the
about
ones that we haven't installed.
50?
yes, yeah. There's
50?
ideas for about 50 books at the present. Yeah.
You guys are
No,
trying to be James Patterson.
Oh no, a
It's
lot of.
just fun.
Oh no, say now, me and him have an ongoing joke. We just realized
Yeah.
he's like Tolkien, and I'm like what's the guy?
C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis when it comes to storytelling.
Yeah.
He wants to make sure everything makes sense. I'm like, yeah, no, Santa Claus appeals and gives the kids weapons. Why? He just does.
It's Norse mythology. You don't need a reason. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, no. So we had left it. We'd left it open, and then I was still bored at college, so we went back to it.
Do we?
About-
We
yeah.
will not disclose the name of said college.
No.
Right?
and it's not like
We went to different colleges.
yeah, it was like I'd have time in between classes, and I was like, I gotta kill this. What do we do? So
You will find a school as well at college.
yeah, I did that too. We should write a poem about Nibbles.
Oh my god, not Nibbles.
But
I forgot that was the name.
yes, Nibbles the squirrel. I know what that squirrel looks like too. Believe it or not. I haven't seen him in 2 years, but I know my squirrel.
So is that a picture book? Are you writing a picture book about Nibbles the squirrel?
I might have actually
Or was
tried.
Nibbles hit by a car?
God,
I don't want.
fantasy.
What are you
I
guys doing to
love
Nibbles?
Nibbles. I think I might have drafted one. I know we did one for his dog, Big Stupid, the house horse. So there'll definitely be a picture book of that at some point. But no, yeah, no. But no, so we had a lot of ideas still left. Like there was a lot of darker stuff that Jonathan was like, we could do this. And I was like, I like that. Let's do that.
And then there was a few dog things that, aka
Yeah.
one of my dog gets killed, which was that I never would ever write a book on
Yeah.
because I feel bad for them.
But
I
yeah,
don't
no.
want to touch them.
So we kind of incorporated some of that into the story, and we were like, all right, let's run with that and write another book. So we wrote the next book in that series following the first one.
And then
and
we
then
wrote
we-
the cyberpunk one.
Yeah, and then we wrote another book in between that was completely different because I needed the project.
I said, let's do something cyberpunk themed because I watched Cyberpunk Edge Runners and I was
Yeah.
like, let's do that. We wrote the book.
Yeah.
It killed our steam for a little while.
Yeah, and then we picked it back up. I was like, I want to write a prequel to this to like explain it, but not enough where you get a full grasp of what's going on. Because after the second one, we had a lot of newer elements that we were like, this could work really cool.
Yes.
So we wrote a prequel, and that's where we left it. And I'm not writing more in
Yeah.
that series. Like we both agreed, that's where it needs to stop. That's where it's done. But
Yep.
now
Now
Do you
was-
do you recommend people read it? Because this is always a question for me with series that have prequels. Do you want people to
Yes.
read them in the order you were writing them, or if somebody jumps
Ooh,
in
I
and
thought
like
of that.
after it's
We're
done,
divisive
should they do
on this.
prequel 1-2 or 1-2 prequel?
I think it's scarier if you read it the way we wrote it, just because like
Agreed.
the way that it flows makes more sense backwards to forwards.
Actually, yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
As well. I agree with
I
that.
want to say it's like Star Wars where you're supposed to watch it the way that he made it, but like not everybody agrees with that. With this, I think it's
Okay, the
more
Star Wars
towards that.
thing, it depends on the year, I feel like, because sometimes I'm like, yeah, watching order
Yeah.
of what came out. Other times I like watching in order of the numbers
Yeah.
and just
I think
skip
though
over some movies.
I think
Also,
though with this
remember-
one though, like our series, I think that's not so much the case where it's like the way we wrote it is the right way to read them.
it brings out the whole better.
Yeah,
All right, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good to know. That's
It
good to
explains
know.
something,
and
but not
that's
everything.
that's the order in which we'll end up publishing them too. So it'll be like 2, then 3, and then we'll be done.
Well,
Now
technically, if you think about it, it's more
So-
like 2, 3, Cyberpunk 1.
No, we wrote this one, then the second one, then the Cyberpunk one, then the fourth one, which was
I
the
know.
third one in that series. It always confuses people when I talk about that. I'm like the fourth book, and they're like, "What?" It's like,
As
yeah,
long as you guys are
we wrote.
finishing your series, there are some authors out there where I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna retire before the book series
No,
finishes.
I hate loose ends. That bothers me so much.
No.
So now we're doing like fantasy books right now.
Yeah,
But we can't fully work on one at a time
yeah, that's my
because we
fault.
have problems. So we have like, I think most of the book queue is just fantasy books.
Yeah,
Oh god, what other ones we have? We have
Agnes
Agnes.
first through ninth.
Yes.
Currently, first through ninth. There's
Yes.
probably,
9
One
books
the
in the
second-
series?
We're on the
Yeah.
second one on that one.
Yeah, we're working on the second.
We're working
one.
on Lunar Nights, the first one
That'll
before.
be
Then we
that'll be a
got
3 book, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
3 books. I still refuse to do Vampiric Love.
Yeah, that one's another one of those
That's
trigger
an honor-
ones.
So now do you guys are you doing lots of varieties of different genres too? So not just horror, you're doing some
Right now we're kind of
Yeah.
zoomed in onto like fantasy
Yeah.
as like
So
the driver, and then just we put on different themes as well.
yeah, that's actually
Because
really good.
one of the ones that I can't wait to get to is the Wajat one.
Yeah.
Because
So all right, here I'll preface this because
Okay.
none of it's gonna make sense.
oh
if you
yeah,
don't
no,
explain
none
it.
of this
So
makes sense.
So when we were in like 8th grade, Jonathan was getting into Dungeons and Dragons. So in working with that, he came up with a map and a world and a story and a timeline. And so I would say probably 40 out of the 50 books that we have planned come from that timeline with the different areas of the map, with the different times in the thing, and it's all kind of thrown at the wall in a sense where like we would we would play different characters as like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and then
I mean, the setting it's
we adjusted that for a book. And that's like, so
I mean, the setting itself is very thrown to the wall because
yeah,
if we look at the setting, it's like, oh yeah, no, you to be only space age. Wait, what happens in that country? Wait, why are we in fantasy again?
yeah,
Hey, why is that one guy in a mech suit? Oh
yeah,
wait, why is that dragon eating the mech suit?
yeah.
Why is that?
So there's a lot with that
There was
particular.
so much deep low.
Yeah,
Literally, I literally me and him have a hour-long video just me discussing
yeah,
one faction, and halfway through it sounds like I'm on like something when I'm not.
yeah.
Lily, I'm just Lily, I don't like I am a person who does not do substances, and I refuse to do any because I am a lightweight in alcohol, so I'm scared to do anything else. So half the time whenever someone thinks I'm on something, I'm not. I'm just that's just how I am.
He's very out there with his
Yeah.
Well,
thing.
and it sounds like you guys kind of approach things like Tolkien would have, right? Like, he spent a lot of time on stuff that didn't even end up in the books because
Oh yeah.
he was developing these worlds and these peoples and these characters and
Yeah.
languages and
I
things that
mean,
didn't really get into the
oh my
book
God,
even, but
I
he needed to
tried.
have it all fleshed out before he
Yeah.
was
I
writing
would
the
love to
story.
learn the language thing. It's just
Yeah,
I'm bad
that's-
at language. And
Yeah, between your dyslexia and my lack of time, like I don't know if we could make our own language.
if I could do language, I would do so much.
I know.
Just making the Elder Gods' own language, oh my God, that would be so fun. Oh
I
my
wonder if
God.
you could make the dyslexia into a language.
I
I don't
probably
know how it
could with
appears
how I
when
write.
you're writing.
I probably could.
That would be cool.
It would
That could be
so
interesting. That could be interesting.
It
Yeah.
would be fun.
But now I do want to
yeah.
ask you guys, because you self-published, and I know from talking to you previously, Ethan, and I also talked to your mom a little bit. So I know that you guys put a lot of effort into the self-publishing aspect. You were really intentional about how you did it, and you even created your own company too, your own self-publishing company, right? Full Wizard Publishing.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that, for those kids sitting at the lunch table in Carmenares who are like, man, this would be a great idea for a story. Like how could we get this published?
Yeah, so that was doing it ourselves was, I would say, more my idea than Jonathan's. He was very hesitant at and so what we had kind of initially looked for is like, how can we get this to a publishing house? How can we get it out there? And the more I looked into it, the more it seemed impossible. And then I found out through a bunch of people that I knew that you can self-publish a book. So I researched a bunch of that. And
it is a lot scarier than
Yeah.
I would think.
yeah, there's a
Because
lot of risk.
apparently, when you're getting like the barcodes and like the IDs
Oh
for
my
the book,
God.
if you misfile it, you
You
could
go
go
to
to jail. Yeah.
So
Apparently-
I'm a
yeah.
librarian and I did not know this.
So-
Yeah.
So here, I'll break
you
it down
do
for
one
you.
thing wrong, you go to jail,
I'll break it down
which is
for you.
horrifying.
So he came up with a name for the publishing company. And to register an LLC is like nothing. You just pay $120, you register with the state and the federal government, and you have a company that does something, right?
Yes. Apparently, I found out a lot of people in Los Angeles do that just for tax write-offs.
Yeah, that's why they did the BOI reporting. That could have cost us $2.5 million. That's why that was a thing. That was May.
Oh yeah,
June.
I forgot about
That
that.
was June.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. But anyway, so registering LLC isn't hard. But research. So we did a lot of research on, what it takes to do self-publishing, and I looked into Amazon. I looked into Barnes and Noble. I looked into, places like what's it called? It starts with a V. Dorrance Publishing, and there's vanity publishers, self-publishers, and then traditional publishers like Scholastic and Penguin House or Random House or whatever you want to call them. So I looked at all those and I was like, wait, but you guys just do, for Amazon and Barnes and Noble specifically, right? They do, you pay for all your publishing, all your copywriting, all your numbers, all your everything like that, and then they take a percentage of your profits for every book sold. And I looked at that and I was like, I could do all that stuff and then just put it on your website. Why am I going to pay you to do it for me when it's going to cost me money anyway? So,
We still haven't heard back from Barnes and Noble. So we tried to
I actually found out what was wrong with that. That's a whole nother story.
Okay, we can talk about that later.
Yeah, that's an angry phone call type thing.
Okay then.
But so I looked at all that and I was like, I can just do this myself, and then I'll figure out how to distribute the book. So I learned how to do all the copywriting. I learned how to do all the ISBN numbers. I learned how to apply for LCCN numbers, which is the Library of Congress controlled. That's how you get it into libraries and stuff. The ISBN is your international database for books. It pretty much just says that it exists and you can find it anywhere if you Google that number. And then the copyright was the scary one. That was like going through it. You had to fill out everything perfectly, make sure you had the right thing, like standard book format, numbers, dates, times.
That was a week where Ethan thought
Yeah,
do it properly.
there was
Thought
a
he was
solid
going to
week.
jail.
There was a solid week that I thought I was going to jail because they had like when you process the payment, I think it's like $65 to copyright a book. They have like this, are you sure this is accurate? Please note you can be subject to scrutiny from the federal government and possibly spend copyright infringement jail time or something like that. And I remember reading that sitting in my room at 1:00 in the morning going, I don't know if I should be doing this right now. Like,
just save it until you wake up tomorrow. Just wait
Yeah.
until the afternoon.
So it's once you do it once though, it's really easy and it kind of just all makes sense. But that first initial like copyright, pay for the numbers, get the things back, like waiting to hear back from Congress or people that want to buy it is terrifying. Like, it's why is this closed? What happened? Did we get accepted? Did we get approved? Like, what's going on? And there's no like you can't find any information until they make a decision. So it's very nerve-wracking, but it's very rewarding at the same time.
Now you guys, so you started your Full Wizard Publishing. Did you do that in part with the intent that maybe other people would publish with you guys and you guys would help them with these steps, or are you just focused on your own stuff with your LLC?
When do you have that wanted to publish books?
Yeah, our new editor actually.
Yeah.
She has some short stories and poems and stuff. So when we made the company originally, it was out of my desire for complete control of how we direct the story, how we direct the book, how we make everything work. And I have some friends that like some kids I went to high school with that are looking into making movies and stuff. So I always keep that door open as like if we were to go to say Random House and publish this book through them, it's likely that they would have more creative control over something future project wise.
Mm-hmm.
But I also spoke with a lot of professors at my school that have had books published, and some of the stories I hear from them, like one of them's an English teacher, and she was telling me about how they changed her cover idea, they changed her title, I was like, how much of this book is yours? And she goes, just what's inside of it. And I was like, that's not okay. Like, there's a vision for what we have, and I want that to be what it is. I don't need somebody else to come in and be like, well, I'm paying for it, I'm gonna change how it look. Like, no, that's not art. Like, and I had a division with that. So when I pitched it to Jonathan, I was like, we should make our own company. He wasn't quite on board at first, and then I broke it down, and
then
like,
I also realized,
Yeah.
oh wait, we can name it.
Yeah, and he was like, I got this. So
Yeah, because the idea for the actual Full Wizard Publishing itself was
Yeah.
because in the first book, all the way at the final page on the Google Doc we used to
Yeah.
write it, I just in really small letters I just put FW.
yeah,
As I don't know why I did it, just
Yeah.
for fun. And
it's probably still at the bottom of the book. Actually, I think we have it on all of them now.
yeah, it's on all of the books.
It's a
probably.
staple.
Yeah, it's
But-
either really, really small so that no one can see it, or just
Yeah.
just
But-
for fun.
Yeah, so it was born out of desire for creative control. And as I progressed, I met some people and had known some people that were looking at publishing books or had work that they had done that they wanted to figure out how to do or what it was. And I had just taken a self explorative course on how to do it all. So it was one of those, like, I explained it to people and they were like, dude, how do you know how to do all this? Like, can you do it for me? And I was like, sure. Technically I have a company. Um, Technically I know how to do all of it. It's after you get it all numbered and formatted and stuff, that's where it gets hard. So like distribution, like what Jonathan was asking about Barnes and Noble, is like, to get it into that store has been a 4-month long endeavor that has still not seen success. And it's just a pain to get there distribution wise. Like we spent a day
calling
probably 5 months ago now. That was August.
Yeah, we called like different.
We called 20 bookstores. None of them have gotten back to us after emails. Like it's
and you're doing like the small local shops too, right?
Yeah.
Because
the Connecticut
that's the tricky
Trail
thing with
books. And I mean, like it's one of those. If it's a struggle, it's a struggle. You learn something from it, and you keep driving at it. Like we started selling them at Isaac's, where we both work on Blue Hills, where his grandmother runs the restaurant. So there's like a little thing there. We've probably sold about 42, 43 now.
Yeah, some of
give or take.
Yeah.
So
that's
we
fantastic.
We printed 100, and in 5 months we sold almost half.
Yeah.
Just like my sister would go up as working as a servant and be like, have you read this book? And like, yeah, I know. I heard it. I don't want to recognize it. I ran out of tea. That's what happened. But no, it's been interesting. And the cool thing is, like, I own the company. I own all the copyrights, as does Jonathan. And we have executive power and control over all of the work that we do. So if I decide like, hey, Barnes & Noble isn't the way to go, they don't own anything for the book. They don't even have publishing rights at the moment. Like we're set up as a vendor in review. So we'd supply the books, but they would pay us like through a W-9 or something like that. And it's like a contractor type of thing. Like if somebody were to fix your house. So that's really nice about the way that we set it up. And like we'd probably make more money going to a publishing house for sure.
Yes.
But it's not, and I think the consensus is between both of us, is it's not about making money so much at the moment. It's about a passion project that we want to continue with.
Yes.
I think that's so impressive for the two of you. I think it keeping control of all those details. When we've had authors visit Bloomfield before, like Nathan Hale, who does Nathan Hale's Hazardous Tales, those graphics, he was saying, he's big now, but he said it took him like 10 plus years to get there, and before that it was a lot of just, begging to be part of this project, getting little bits here, and then something would fail. And then all of a sudden he connected with the right person. And that's how he sort of started to make a name for himself. But it's a lot of work, and you really have to love what you're doing in order to keep going with it. Right?
Oh, it really is an uphill battle.
I'm curious, do you guys study like English at school, or is this like a totally like separate side passion project?
I took one English class in college so far. And that's it.
So
are you guys like secretly engineers or something? You're studying to be like.
I'm a history and business management major, or history major, business management minor.
Business management's probably going to come in handy.
Yeah, that's why.
I am what you call I don't know what I'm doing. A lot of people say I should go into arts.
Liberal arts. That's liberal arts.
I took one English class my freshman year. And I'm only taking one this year because I want to hone the craft a little bit more. So it was one of those, like, we had an opportunity at the college I'm going to, and I had 4 or 5 people push me at it. And I was like, all right, I'll sign up. Let's make it work.
I mean, people are pushing me to go to art, so I'm kind of tempted too.
You'd be good at it. I mean, she just said.
And do you guys, because I know a lot of authors, like if you talk to like a Stephen King or something, not that I talk to Stephen King, but, I've seen interviews, that say that, they just make a point of writing every single day, even if they end up like throwing away everything that they wrote.
No, we don't do
they
that.
make a point of doing that every day.
I write pretty decently, but I write my stuff that I would not like to talk about here.
Really, you write every day?
Not most days, not
Okay.
every single day.
He might have a point there because I know I work on books at night. I don't know if it's every day though.
Well, maybe the ideas too. Maybe you guys are thinking about this stuff a
Yeah,
lot.
that's
Every
true.
other day,
We do.
kinda
We
sounds-
do think about books constantly though.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, I think that's kind of. We were talking about that. I don't know. Last year.
Do you-
It was like the
Do you old
basis of
school
our-
keep a notebook like where you're just jotting stuff down like in the day when it occurs to you?
Yeah.
If I don't have something nearby to
Yeah.
put notes on, I'm in trouble. Because then I'm like, what was that idea? It was amazing. It was at 3 a.m., but now I can't remember.
So
There
no, a
are
lot-
sheets of paper.
There's so many people.
So many sheets of paper.
Although say now I'm a person who does a lot of more characters and then think about those characters and what stories would fit around them sometimes. Or like because I make a lot of D&D characters for myself, kind of both sometimes. I take their backstories I write for them and then say, oh, that would be interesting to see. And then Ethan yells at me for making the 500th elf. I make way too many elves, he
Yeah,
says.
just diversify. Just
There can never be too many elves.
no, there
Thank
can't be.
you.
There can be too many else.
Ethan, those
They
only
lived for 700 years. You're making me sound like more of a dying seagull. There can be too many elves.
Listen. Elves are the coolest, especially mine. We got the sun elves, we got the moon elves, we got the wood elves, we got the dark elves. Each of them got their own special thing. Literally, wood elves have plants growing out of them. That's cool.
That's
And the ones who decide
don't give away your copyright ideas here. So I know I've kept you guys talking for a while, but I want to sort of wrap up with, if, because this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this series is myself and some leaders at the Board of Ed. And, we have noticed that in Bloomfield in particular, we have a lot of kids and adults. So all ages, from elementary on up to adult people who are looking to write and to be published authors, and they are really passionate about this. Our previous video last month was with a pair of 6th graders who love doing nonfiction books. So if you, knowing this, are there some big pieces of feedback you would leave for people who want to really take their writing to the next level?
Okay.
I know that's a tough one. It's a sort of a broad question, but
actually,
I have a few ideas
Yeah.
because
I'll let you go first.
okay, this is something I hold once, which kind of makes sense. Even if the idea sounds like someone did it, you can still put your own spin on it. Because every story, someone else has written a similar, if not almost identical story to it. All stories share something in common. There's no original ideas. It's just how you put your idea down. Because people can, because sometimes when I'm writing my stuff, I'm like, someone did this better than me. This sounds exactly like this. And then someone talks to me, I'm like, this sounds like this. And then I try to explain the rest of it, and they're like, no, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's 100% true. Because if you think about it, like, J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, right? Like there are
It's
so
just
many,
stories, but with wizards.
so many stories that have that like magic school kind of thing going on nowadays. But doesn't mean they're not fantastic standalone fantasy series either. Just because
Harry Potter itself is just Star Wars, but without lightsabers.
Don't get Harry Potter fans up in a.
My sister's a Harry Potter fan, so I can't say too much.
I am a
bad
Harry
about
Potter fan, Jonathan.
Oh,
I'm a Hufflepuff.
yeah.
But so Ethan, what about you? Is there something you would like to leave with people?
I would say, don't be afraid of doing anything, right? So like at every avenue, writing this book and all the future ones and present ones and starting a company with Jonathan and working on stuff together, there was a lot of fear going into like, how are we going to edit this? How are we going to publish this? How is our writing good enough? Is it, you got to just shut your brain up and run at it. Like the more you think about it, the harder it'll get. So just, if you love writing, you will write well because you have a passion for it. So just keep doing it And when you're ready to have it go out, that's when you make that step.
Also, make sure you have a friend who's brutally honest.
Yeah, that
Those
helps
help
a
a lot.
Mhm.
Especially with him
A
and
lot.
him yelling at me with past and present tense,
Yes.
which I'm still not the best at.
Yeah. We've had like,
We have had so many conversations about my past and present tense.
I would say my lack of description and his tense usage. But even with that, like we've known each other so long that it's easy because if I screw something, like the other day we were working on a book. I think that was what, Monday?
Yeah, Monday.
We were working on the 7th or 8th book that was written. And
the fantasy one.
Yeah. And
I kept on getting annoyed at stuff until we finally explained to each other after I think it was like 10 minutes of us yelling at each other until both of us finally understood what we were trying to say.
Yeah. But it's cool because like we can still have an argument about like storylines or what's in the book versus what's not in the book. And he can still point something out and be like, you need more descriptions. And I'll be like, you need to learn how to spell. But it's like a very
But it's true. But that being able to take constructive feedback is so important because you get wedded to like your idea.
Out what we do more. Yeah. And it makes it better overall. Like second or third drafts after we get it back to each other and work on it together. It's one of those like, wow, this came out twice as good as it if I had left it the way that we did. Like
sometimes I find when I put something on paper, like I'm reading it in a certain way, in part because I hear it a certain way in my own head, right? And the second somebody else reads it, they are taking it in a completely different way that I did not expect, right? So that perspective is really important.
Yeah.
And I would add, I would also add, because you guys mentioned this, and I know that it was mentioned in our author talk with Jonathan and Theo last month, actually when it went live this month in December, that it's important to also be aware of the people in your network, like right around you, who would be willing to help you with your process, right? Like you mentioned how you had a high school teacher who helped you with editing on the first book. And I know Jonathan and Theo had mentioned there was somebody at Nature Roaring Brook Center. I always get the name backwards.
Yeah.
But somebody there who would help them with their information and their editing. And I think that's important that we have people around us that can help us with stuff, right?
Yeah. That was a big learning curve, I think, for me, especially. Like, I have a very hard time leaning on people for things. So when it came to like making a company, I kind of did it all myself in a way. I'd ask for help when I needed it really bad, but it was a lot of like trial and error, figuring it out and hoping I didn't go to jail. So, with that like idea of not being afraid is like, go to people. Don't be afraid to ask for help because if we didn't, we wouldn't have gotten halfway through this. Like if I didn't call Jonathan up that one day and I was like, hey, can we work on this? And we sat down and did, like, it never would have gone anywhere. If he doesn't call me up at 12 in the night, at middle of the night and be like, I have an idea. What do you think? Like we wouldn't have 12 books lined up for the next 2 years.
Or 50. You said 50 ideas.
But it's one of those, like, it's all right to go to people that you know and be like, hey, do you know anything about this? Hey, do you know anybody that could help? Like, that's how you kind of build it, is you need that input. Otherwise, you're kind of just in your own little box.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it has been fantastic talking with you. I'm hoping, so just so people know, we do have a copy of their book at Bloomfield Public Library. So with our nice little local author sticker on top. So anybody who's interested in it can come check it out at Bloomfield Public Library. We will, whenever they're ready, have book 2 and the prequel for your series. So just keep them coming. We'll keep putting them on our shelves.
And if you need more of those, let me know.
Oh, absolutely. So, so hopefully everybody enjoyed this today and got some really terrific information from you, especially about the self-publishing stuff too, because that's all new to me. I have no idea about any of that. And I really enjoyed our talk. Any one final word before we wrap things up?
This is just a personal thing for me. If you're gonna write 2 friends in a book, don't make them all 100% chummy. They do fight a lot. So we fight a lot. True friends.
That's okay. It's constructive, right? Right.
Yes.
Well, and it's,
Always
you know,
constructive.
Always constructive.
I think that shows how well you guys, how long you guys have known each other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody for now, and then we will have a new another episode of a Young Author Talk next month with Kamarley Henry with his comics, his Chad series from the Bloomfield Messenger, and he has his published books too. So until next time, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.